Welcome. Thank you for tuning to Neptune Knives. So today I'm going to be testing the Hinderer Xm-18. This is a knife that's very popular out there. A lot of people seek after it, and I would say that I think most people don't know some of its capabilities and its purpose in terms of design. I haven't had much conversation with Hinderer's guy. I forget his name. I think it was Rob maybe or something. I don't remember. Point is that the Xm-18 I think actually is undervalued, and I would say that, you know, for the price I can understand why. And today perhaps we'll go over testing, showing some of its capabilities. So first thing, I'll say this: man, what is with flies always flying in your ears? Why they got buzzed so close to your head? Has anyone figured this out? You know, I don't know if anyone knows this. So the Xm-18, first thing is, you know, the steel, he has a couple options. Duratec 20 CV, I don't know, basically like D2. And then he has a CTS-XHP, which is like better edge retention, more fine grain. The composition of it's more dense and, how you say, like, so it's got a better edge retention because of that. And then of course he does a S35. Now, CTS-XHP is kind of what's common, and that's the one I have. You know, Spyderco's been doing some CTS-XHP spin runs, and for me the steel's soft. I think it quickly dulls. Its edge can roll. It's like D2, and D2's performance is just minutely more how you say, tougher than S30. When I ask like Martin Knives of Texas, you know, which steel, he always tells me to just, you know, ditch all those D2s and go for S30. And if you look at the charts, that's true. The S30s are stronger overall in both edge retention and toughness. They're just hard to sharpen. And S30, though, with all its vanadium, is primarily probably why a lot of these custom knife makers prefer not to do it, because that steel, you know, it really wears out those knife makers' tools and stuff. So here's today's tester knife, the Xm-18 3.5 inch non-flipper. And I will say, you know, it's a little unwieldy. That's one thing I've always felt about the knife, that I prefer it have a flipper, you know, if I could. Just because it does with all the stonewashing and this grease-tan, it just kind of doesn't, it locks in once it's in, you know, but with the flipper it really locks in, and it just provides that extra security. Plus, Hinderer's Teflon washers are so soft that the blade quickly can just drop on your finger, so when you close it, you kind of have to close it with the blade facing upward. So, first priority is to get it sharp. So let's take a second now to sharpen the Hinderer, see if I can get it good. I'm going to sharpen it first, do the cutting testing, and then afterwards do the spine wax. Let's see. Okay, good enough for me, folks, because I'm out here and there's all these dang flies and stuff. So, regardless, let's see if we can cut some paper. Just the general that's sharp enough. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, I know, it's not the best, but really I don't want to keep going over it. Besides, I'm going to have to dull it anyway soon, so regardless, this is how the edge is right now, okay? Okay, so now let's do some testing. The Hinderer, it's a Sponto grind. So let's see how it goes against this wood. So basically it's a saber grind, not full flat ground. It's definitely thick. It's got a thick blade profile. And let me see if I can. See how much damage I can. So you can get the idea. That's difficult. This wood's pretty tough though. Now let's see the tip. Okay. Pretty good, right? Let's see. I mean, I have definitely a lot of respect for Mr. Hinderer in the fact that I think he's gone definitely a long way to really figure out what is the best combination of, I mean, of like what you need for a heavy use folder between the cutout being on the outside. Tip is still fine. Tip is still fine. To the cutout being on the outside. To the stabilizer disc, so when you grip it hard, the lock bar doesn't move around a lot and it can handle hard or negative force. To the sponto grind, you know, trying to get the best of a tonto point and a spear point. And plus, you know, it's hard to sharpen tontos and not to lose that tip right there, the edge right there. So it's curved edges. It's functional, you know. Like I said, his choice of going to CTS-XHP, I think, you know, it's just like, you know, if you wanted the most toughness you could get, you know, that's I think, you know, it's better than D2. The steel CTS-XHP, okay, it has Teflon washers, but the Teflon's not in there only purely because, you know, he wanted to do Teflon. It's also in there because the CTS-XHP is qualified as a what's it called, a rust proof, you know, it's like a rust proof like D2 and stuff. But the thing is, it's also, oh, caught the rock on that one. Oh, here, it's also what's it called, it's not very corrosion resistant. Corrosion and rust are two different things. Here's that tip now from scraping the rock. See, one of the elements that CTS-XHP can't come into contact with is phosphor. So that's probably why instead of phosphor bronze washers, it's Teflon. I'll correct me if I'm mistaken on this. Another thing is the lock bar has moved in, you know, as always, so now it's jammed. So my best solution is that to take my little tool, put it in there, and just pry it apart. That's that lock bar, the method, which I'm hoping today won't fail me because of that. So now let's see its ability perhaps to do some, I don't know, I guess let's see if it can do some chopping. Let's see. See, because it does have that sort of saber ground, especially as it gets duller, kind of like axes. It does very well for chopping, I think. I'd say, yeah. For a little knife, it does very well. Let's see, you can get away from the rock. Okay, let's try doing some perhaps batoning, and we'll disengage the lock. There's a little tip by Victorinox fan. I appreciate that. You know, it doesn't really need to be locked to do this. Okay, so let's try this now. Well, the only thing is when you baton with it, you know, there's jolts that go down the lock bar, and perhaps you want to wear the lock bar out, so you try and lock it. But I don't care; it keeps locking. So. Right, this is going against the grain, but see if I can unlock it. There's no really point to unlocking it. That doesn't actually work because it just keeps moving around anyway and eventually locks. So. see, lockup's still fine. Check it out. Pivot's loosened, so it's not centered. Let me tighten it back with my hand. Now it's centered. Let's see. Lockup's still the same. Okay. Now let's try going with the grain. Let's see. Of course, that's much easier. So. Lock bar is moving in. It's jammed. Same thing as before. I'll pop it open. See? Good. Okay. Spine whack, right? You can see that's how easy to operate with gloves. Let's see. Okay. Lockup's fine, right? Okay. Now I do wish this was a flipper version, but it is what it is. You ready? This first. Oh, it unlocked that time and then locked back up again. Try it again. Now did you see? When I whacked it this way, it unlocked because my grip affected it. It moved the lock bar. So that's why I'm trying to explain to people that if you saw that, if you caught it or not, when I whacked it, it quickly popped like that and then popped back in place. Let's see what's going to happen again. Well, it's locked. See the lock bars like that. Let's see. See how it moves inward? So I can get unlocked. It's jammed. But like I said, I don't mind that it does that rather than unlocking. Let's see now how it goes. Of course it's uncentered. Let me tighten it. Okay, so it's centered. Okay, so it's centered. And let's see. Lockup's the same. Not affected by it because there's just such a bulk there. So a little more spine wax. You can see it just tends to move inward. Look at that. So now let's try perhaps some stabbing maneuvers, which is really why they do spine whack tests, because when you stab, there's that possibility of it disengaging. So. You see? See? Tip. Still all there. Just maybe dull from when I dropped it, but I mean I scraped it on the rock. I'm hoping this can get it all. I don't know. I can't tell in the viewfinder. So, I think that about concludes it. You can see the performance of it now. Okay, so about to show if it can still cut through paper. Let's see. Of course not. It's not horrible. I mean, the idea is, like I said, once you're outdoors and you're using it hard, so long as it has a general edge, you're looking for that work edge. It doesn't have to be a razor edge. So just remember, CTS-XHP because it's soft, it just rolls. Okay, back inside. Take a look at the edge. You can see there's no fractures. Of course, in the front wax, and it hit the rock, but there was no fractures, no chipping. Definitely that's why I think he chose it over S30, because it just has sort of an outdoor aspect to it. If anything, I would say that this knife kind of makes me think it's like almost an axe. Like a small axe, slicing the wood, no recurve, no hard edge, even if it was compared to like a paramilitary with flat grind, you're only going to be able to shave off wood. But once you start chopping, man, it really excels compared to paramilitary just because of the weight, gets the bulk of it, the saber grind, in terms of prying, it just does really well outdoors. It holds up very well too. And you can see I was hitting the spine, and the spine looks pretty good. It's not like it's damaged. Like I said, it just tends to roll over anything else. Just a little bit. I mean, it's a piece of metal. It's not, it's not that fragile. And I'll follow this up with an actual review of the knife, but for that's the testing of it. Okay, and then you can see the lockup. The lockup wasn't really affected by any of that. And when I take it apart, I'll show you the lock bar. See how that lock bar is worn. Okay, thank you.